A lot of people have requested that I power rank the APAC teams going into 2025, just like I've done for EMEA and Americas. These are based on pretty reliable leaks and signings that have taken place so far. First, I want to talk about PRX. The interesting thing about PRX to me is they are usually the best team to come out of APAC at a regional level, but I don't know, they still have the same aura at internationals recently. I'm fully rooting for PRX. Hopefully they can win a trophy this year, especially with EDG proving that aggressive playstyle still somewhat works. But yeah, I still have to rate them as the best team to come out of APAC, at least at regionals, and I'm wishing them the best of luck this year. Number 2, I have Genji, and I think this is a bit of a hot take. So Genji, the org, was having financial struggles supposedly, and because they had such a good year, their player stocks had risen, making them more expensive than the org could afford, I'd imagine. So essentially the org let go of Munchkin, Meteor, and Lakia, leaving only Karen and Texture as well as the head coach. But ultimately, Genji would renegotiate with Munchkin, who was the IGL, and get him back, leaving just Meteor and Lakia to find new teams, obviously losing Meteor as a crazy fumble. I think he was the best player on that team by far. Well, maybe not by far. But in short, they are rumored to be bringing in Bane and Foxy9 to replace Meteor and Lakia. I actually think Bane is a good replacement for Lakia. Foxy9 is pretty good as well, but he's no Meteor. But due to them keeping the IGL, Coach, Texture, and Karen, I think they can make it work and get good results. Anyway, next I have T1, who I ranked as the 3rd best team to come out of APAC. They just played in the Red Bull Homeground APAC tournament, and I'll be honest, they looked horrible at times. But there are still a few months till Masters Bangkok, obviously, which will be hosted in February/March. By then, I think they can easily work out how not to get 1v4 twice in the same map. So yeah, these are 5 great players, great staff. I think this roster has a lot of potential. They acquired Meteor from Genji, and I think this team has a ceiling to be top 1 coming out of Asia this year. At number 4, I have a bit of a sleeper pick, a bit of a dark horse perhaps, RRQ. Why do I have them here? Well, they brought in Kush for Lamore, who I wouldn't say is a considerable upgrade, but they have also brought in Warbirds from Team Secret, who I feel like is a pretty underrated coach. Once the year goes on, I think this team will be good. Maybe not immediately, but I think Warbirds will bring some great structure to this team. I don't know if this team can win anything necessarily, but I think their ceiling is top 3, top 4. Number 5, I have DRX, who've done a bit of a rebuild. They lost Bane, Foxy9, Buzz, and Stax. Although them losing Stax was about halfway through last year. They retained Mako, Flashback, as well as the coach. I think the dynamic between the coach and IGL is pretty important. Also didn't mind what I saw from Flashback during Champs. Mako is obviously good. I trust the rebuild, but because it's a rebuild, it's hard to put them super high or even say what their ceiling is. But also I think they'll probably be middle of the pack as they lost their star players. At number 7, I have Team Secret. Although they lost their coach, who I felt like was an important piece to their puzzle, I'm sure they took a lot of things from him and learned a lot of things from him. They're still a good team. I actually think this team is kind of slept on. Listen, no one laughed, but I think this team is the type of dark horse that wins champs when no one expects them to win. At number 6, I actually have Talon, who just played in the Red Bull tournament. Although I don't think the tournament meant much at all, I think it showed Primi in a pretty good light. Primi is an absolute star player. They obviously subbed him in last second at Champs, although they probably had some prep. I think this team is still finding their identity in terms of roles, and once they play a little longer and they build chemistry and find something that works for all of them, I think we're looking at a great team with a ceiling of like top 3 or 4 in the future. Number 8, I have Global Esports. They've actually built a pretty good roster this year. They decided to go with some underrated players. Yokum, Kelly S, Crystal, Papichulo, and Yudotan. I'm a big fan of Crystal, Papichulo, and Kelly S picks. Also, Patrick Watson from Cardi World, also known as Yokum. Have to respect him. Also, to be honest, I'm not super familiar with Yudotan. I see a top 6 finish from this team as their possible ceiling. Number 9, I have SPG, who won Ascension. They looked pretty good doing it, only dropping 2 maps in the grand finals. Not much to say about them. Any team with 5 Korean players is bound to be good, but it's hard to rank a team highly coming from Ascension, but I could see this team reaching a possible top 4 or 5. So good luck to them. 10 and 11, I have Zeta and DFM. I kind of feel bad for the Japanese teams because they're limited to people who just speak Japanese, which is not the case for a lot of Asian teams. DFM has picked up a coach as a player and a ranked player as a starter. Maybe they'll be insane, but it's just really hard to say. But what I will say is that if May could get on an English-speaking team, he would mog ass pass. Anyways, and lastly at number 12, I have Boom, who lost to SPG in Ascension Grand Finals. They didn't even win Ascension. Also lost a player, Shiro, who to be fair I don't think was a super integral part of their Ascension run. Although I had this team in last, I think Famous and Berserk are 2 players you have to keep your eyes on. But coming from Ascension is certainly an uphill battle, so good luck to them. And if you're wondering how they ascended, basically Bleed got kicked out of Franchise League, so 2 Ascension teams were promoted this year. Please leave your own ranking below and tell me why you agreed or disagreed, and yeah, you can also check out my Americas or EMEA rankings here.